Welcome to Lookouts and Waterfalls in the Blue Mountains, episode 29, Let Our Videos Be Your Guide. In this episode, we visit Mount Mark and the Three Brothers in Medlow, Bath. Hello and welcome. We're at the end of Foy Road between Katoomba and Medlow, Bath, about to walk the tracks on Mount Foy. If there's anything there, we'll show you that shortly. Next, we'll visit the Three Brothers that overlook the Megalong Valley. We drove these roads to get to the start of the walking tracks. We followed the M4 motorway from Sydney onto the Great Western Highway and will turn sharp left into Foy Avenue, 4.4 kilometres west of the Park Street Katoomba turnoff. Here is a map of the roads we took to get to the walking tracks. If your vehicle has a trip meter, set it to 0 as you exit the highway. We've not been here before, so it might be necessary to park here. I've been told that the Sill Road ends at a gate 400 metres from the highway. Street, roadside. I'll provide GPS coordinates and the map of this trip at the end of this video. There are numerous tracks in this area that end at Mount Mark. I hope I don't get lost. In an old tin letterbox. The first track on the right has a locked gate, so we won't go that way. Let's see where this track goes. Mount Mark is a 1,062 metre high point above sea level near Medlow, Bath. It's a part of 9.5 kilometres of tracks winding around the Katoomba Valley. Mr. William H. Hargraves, the principal landowner of the time, along with his caretaker gardener, Murdo McClellan, constructed most of the tracks around the early 1890s. Hargraves opened up to the tourists some lovely panoramic views of his property. So what has Hargraves got to do with Mount Mark? Let me explain. Mark Foy came to Medlow in 1902. It was originally named Brown's Siding, or Brown's Sawmill Siding, and then plain Medlow in the 1880s. Mark Foy leased the Hargraves property and later purchased it in 1903. Shortly before that, Mark Foy purchased the Belgravia Hotel that was built in 1891 by Charles James Ellis. By the time Foy purchased his third acquisition, the home of Alfred Tucker, strong rumours in the area suggested that Foy had some idea of utilising his new purchases for some fine institution, and he was congratulated on having one of the finest properties on the mountains. On the 4th of July 1904, Mark Foy opened his hydropathic resort, and the Medlow railway station's name was changed to Medlow Bath, through efforts made by Foy and William Hargraves. 2 years later, due to the failure of the sanatorium, Mark Foy began breaking up his huge property by first subdividing some of the land into 3 estates. In newspapers he advertised Nobbs Hill Estate, Golf Links Estate, and Mount Mark Estate, all situated within easy reach of the Hydro Majestic. Mount Mark Estate can be seen at the bottom left of this advertisement, as situated on the left-hand side of the Great Western Road, midway between Katoomba and Medlow Bath. That's right where we are now, on Mount Mark. I have no proof, but it's reasonable to suggest the names Mount Mark and Mount Mark Estate were creations of Mark Foy. I'll talk more about Mark Foy in our next episode. That looks like a path down there, heading down. There's a perfectly good path down here. It goes down there. We'll follow this a bit further, but I'm just worried we're still following the road, and there is a path that goes all the way to... oh, fence. I'm going to say this isn't the way. Because we've been walking far too long following the road. Because we should be going down and back that way. Seem to be going up now. As we had another location to visit on this trip, we ran out of time to fully explore the tracks around Mount Mark, and after missing a right turn, we spent far too long backtracking and walking down unfamiliar paths. I must say, all the tracks we saw were at one time well-constructed dirt roads, something like what you would expect in a subdivision. These were not just walking paths. For anyone coming here are my directions. The letter A represents the lock gate where we parked. Immediately after on the right is lock gate B. Both gate locks are not government issued, leading me to believe gate A should not be there. We walked to C, looking for a sweeping right-hand turn, not realising we had done that in the car. We backtracked to D and followed it to the large fallen tree across the road, at E. There we decided to abandon our Mount Mark attempt. Later, my GPS data showed we should have turned right at F. There's a big log here. I don't think we're going to find it. I think we're too far down on this track. Our next stop is a feature called The Three Brothers, closer to Medlow, Bath. So it's back onto the highway. Here is a map of the roads we took to get to the walking tracks. The next turn to the left is Bellevue Crescent. We'll turn there, and at 50 metres we'll turn left again after passing the start of Del Monte Avenue onto a track between houses number 6 and 12. I've been told it's a four-wheel drive only road, so it's advisable to walk from Bellevue Crescent or the end of Del Monte Avenue. My map shows a parking area under the power lines off the main track. We'll aim for that. From the parking area, follow the track under the power lines and onto a well-defined path to the left. From there, it's a short 150-metre walk. That's the creek. Then we look for the telephone lines. Here we found a track to the left. Is this the path to the parking area? Let's go and have a look. this is a loop. This must be the road to Del Monte Avenue. So it's about turn and back down to the main track. Please note, while we drove the road down, it became apparent that there was literally nowhere to turn or pass another vehicle until reaching A, B or C, marked on this map. Having to reverse a vehicle on this narrow road would be very hazardous. We drove past the parking area turn-off we were looking for at B and turned around at C. Whoa! Wet and slippery. Well, it's a well-worn track, so that's always good, although it's a bit rugged. Where does the path go? Does it go around, follow that around? For anyone wanting to walk from the Three Brothers to the sunbath, be aware that we could not find the path beyond the creek. Recent rain had raised the creek, turning it into a swamp. And although I walked it to the top of a waterfall, I saw no sign of the path. It's there somewhere. Ugh. I think the path has turned into a river. The path goes on that side. Someone stepped there already. People have tried to walk on the logs. Ouch, these spiny bloody trees. Ow, they're spiny. My feet are soaked. It ends at a bloody waterfall. I fell in so many deep holes. We eventually made it back to the parking area and began our walk to the Three Brothers. The Three Brothers is an unusual rock formation that mimics the Three Sisters in Katoomba, but on a much smaller scale and with an odd geometric shape. The formation comprises three conjoined sandstone pagoda-like rock formations approximately 5 meters high and situated 20 meters back from the escarpment. While both the Three Sisters and the Three Brothers were created through erosion, the Three Sisters formed by the weathering of a mountain spur, while the Three Brothers are volcanic in nature, possibly vents, with the surrounding softer rock weathered away. We've seen these sorts of shapes in earlier episodes. The path turns here. I see some rocks ahead of us in the trees, with the sun beating down on them. Historical evidence for the Three Brothers is scarce. When Mark Foy owned the Hydro Majestic Hotel, he gave colourful names to many of the sites and walking paths around the hotel. It seems reasonable to expect he saw and named the Three Brothers in one or more of his many newspaper advertisements. What did he call Glen Rosa? the Kuma Rocks, the ruins of Pompeii, Solomon's Seat, and the Gardens of the Gods, to name a few. Foy more than likely read about the Kuma Rocks, as they were well known way back when in 1852 Reverend W.B. Clarke conducted a geological survey in the Kuma Monaro district, then called Manaroo or Monaro. It was the gold rush era, and the country had gold fever. Clarke stated, "In Monaro, where the geological features are rougher and bolder and suited to the climate, fragmentary cysts and quartzites form islands amidst the trap of a more marked and distinctive outline. As quartz is an indicator of the presence of gold, the Kuma outcrops made headlines in numerous newspapers." In the Daily Telegraph, on the 20th of February 1902, it states, "By coach and buggy we reached Berridale about midday, converging into the rolling downs of the Monaro Plains, with their curious outcrops of blue granite and stunted gums." Again in 1904, "The Monaro sites are very pretty, but the country round is rather rough. There are outcrops of granite everywhere, some of them covering several acres, which will militate against the country being used for agriculture." Now, I'm not a geologist, so I hope that makes sense to you. That doesn't, however, alter the fact that in the early 1900s, Mark Foy named a feature on one of the tracks on his property the Kuma Rocks. Was the three brothers' former name the Kuma Rocks? I'll leave that up to you. Comment below. You don't think anyone will recognise you standing up there? On this trip, we visited Mount Mark and the three brothers in Medlow, Bath. You can do all this in one day, but take your time and enjoy the outdoors, the fresh air, the sunshine, the wonderful vistas, but most of all, stay safe by familiarising yourself with our safety instructions at the end of this video. Our GPS map and how to get the data follows. In our next episode, we visit the Hydro Majestic Hotel for its views over the Megalong Valley, and try to discover the original Tucker's Lookout, once called the Hydro Lookout. Let's do this one together. Subscribe and click the bell to join me then. Thanks for watching. Bye. Whatever way you discover the Blue Mountains, we want you to have a safe and enjoyable experience. Whether you drive, catch public transport, or cycle to the destinations we visit here, some walking is necessary. The walks are usually short, but can contrast greatly, so you need to be aware of the risks. Have a safe and enjoyable sightseeing experience at these lookouts and waterfalls. Don't forget to subscribe and click the notification bell to be alerted when we next visit the Blue Mountains.